Recorded February 19th, 2026. How are you, Franklin?
I'm doing great. How are you, Edward? The bad
I'm all
student.
right, man. If I say anything, I'd be complaining, and complaining would turn into whining. I'm fine. It's just that little bit slow motion. I can't tell if I'm got whatever's going around the nation, or I had too much caffeine too early this morning. Now I'm crashing. Um, or it could be both. Who knows? But no, things are good. Um, I'm not a big fan of holidays during the work week. For some reason, it makes the next 4 days just go by, So I guess be careful what I ask for, right? But um, the work doesn't stop because it's a holiday that everybody doesn't, they don't recognize a federal holiday. Not everybody was off, so it's essentially a bank holiday, and the work is there. I had so many customer presentations, but let's say I had since Tuesday, let's say I had 10. Well, maybe one more tomorrow. Out of the 10, 4 of them have been around Security Copilot. Trying to figure out what this resurgence is coming. Also, I think it is because of the announcement that was made at night that because of because if the customer has E5, M365 E5, for every 1,000 users that they get, for every 1,000 licensed users that they have, they get 400 SCUs. But it wasn't an immediate enablement or distribution to the customer's tenants that qualify. It is a rolling. What's the word I want to use? I won't say enablement. It's a rolling provisioning of the SCUs into the customer's tenant. And for our listeners, most of our listeners are not new; they're senior. Thanks for all our supporters. SCUs are secure compute units, which are really the currency of a sort that Security Copilot uses to perform the prompts that are given to it, and or in this new landscape, to power the subsequent agents that utilize Copilot as its intelligence. So if you're getting these agents that run it, whether it be conditional access agent, threat vulnerability agent, phishing triage agents, whether it be third-party agents built by partners or first-party agents built by Microsoft, the SCUs are used to power those activities. So now that the customers who are on that list are now starting to see these agents being provisioned automatically into their accounts, the onus and the reservation about using the product, which killed it at first because of the cost uncertainty, is gone. So they're like, what did one customer tell me? We playing with house money now. Let's go. Let's turn on everything around here and see what happens. So 3 good Sentinel conversations with customers that actually flipped. I'll say flipped. They're moving to Sentinel. One of them was on the fence, but what we're going to talk about on the show today made him make the decisions like, damn, we're going with it. This is what we were looking for, so let's go with this. Lots of reading. Code magazine, pile of papers. For those that are watching live, you watch the video, I'm still an old school. I see something in the magazine I turn the pages out and then I read later. I think I was reading Power, GitHub, Copilot, and Visual Studio, even though I've been doing it just to read what Code magazine have this. I love this author too, John Miller. He's super smart dude. I believe he was over at MSDN for a minute magazine before he went to Code. And then I'm also reading The Future and Impact of AI across all type of industries at MIT Technology Magazine. Going beyond just, the coding piece, the thing that made me raise my eyebrows were how much AI is being embedded, for those that are watching, to the magazine, into drones, warfare. That in itself is cause to pay attention, right? What else have I broken this week? Too much or nothing. So basically, I've done the last GPU I needed for my rig finally came in that I wanted, and I put it in, but they didn't have the correct cable to be able to connect you to my motherboard, so I had to wait on that. I got it in, and with these NVIDIA Blackwells, they don't use SL Link anymore. They do all the synchronization across the GPUs across the motherboard, but you have to have a very specific PCI motherboard that knows how to sync and balance the GPUs in it. And it didn't do it at first. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. I got a bad GPU, but it wasn't. You have to go into the BIOS, and the BIOS on this, I got a COSAR motherboard, I believe, and I have the AMD Threadripper in there, latest CPU, and that BIOS is madly complicated. It ain't like the days of you and I'm like, golly. But luckily, I found at the very end of the BIOS, you could say game optimization, AI optimization. But then if you got into the manual part, don't mess around and never know what you're doing, because you end up having to just go reset the default. And now, but I got it. And so when I fired it back up, PowerShell, NVIDIA, I think SMI or something like that, and then it saw all three. And then my concern was, okay, I know the power supply is good. I literally have almost a 1,200 watt power supply, but I was worried about temp. So I got a infrared pointy clicky thermometer shot at the case. Cool as a fan. Everything's running great. And so I said, let me go ahead and finish this homework for Franklin. I'll be ready for him.
Then, by the way, I just bought a Mac Mini. Forget all that stuff that you did. I just bought a $600 Mac Mini.
Bought a Mac Mini. I read an article about that too. I'll let you talk about that. Let me finish. So I said, let me go and get this homework done. Frank gave me this homework 2 months ago. I'm still playing around now. I have all the hardware. I went down another rabbit hole. I sort of like, you told me to download Olemma. I downloaded it on my laptop, the one I was using before I finally built the rig out. Like it. It was cool. And then I said, you know what? On the new one, I'm not going to put it on there. I'm going to use LLM Studio. I sort of like that better. I like that. Then I went down another rabbit hole. I was doing something else, and Hugging Face came up, and I lost a whole day on Hugging Face, going through all the stuff, how it chooses the different providers to be able to see here. And then I'm like, well, how does it know where's the most optimized route to be able to serve a prompt, right? Just the general. I didn't go into any of the details. Then I went down another rabbit hole. I said, I want to see the network traffic when this thing is running. So I put a sniffer on the device to actually see the traffic. So I threw the network card into like a sort of promiscuous mode. And when I'm doing prompts, I wanted to see it. Interesting. Will be a topic for the show after we do our second guest. Because I was watching the traffic come across, and I got something I use called, I'll put it in the chat for everybody. It's called Glasswire. I've recommended it before a couple of years back. I've been using it for more than a decade. It's for Windows, and you can virtualize and dashboard your Windows firewall. So it sits as an overlay between your Windows firewall, and then it takes up and you can see it, everything. And then you can use it to let a certain TCP connection inbound, but deny going out. But when I put it on one screen, I put up performance monitor on the other screen. So as I'm prompting on this machine, I'm watching performance monitor, and then I look at the network traffic at the same time. To our listeners, put this on. You can get a free version. No malware. I've been using it for more than 15 years. I like one of the founding buyers. I get it for free now because I thought $100, 15 years ago was too much money for freeware. It's an awesome tool if you need something really quick. And I came from the protocol analysis background. So Network General, Sniffer, Wireshark. I used to do that when I was a networking guy. So just to see the traffic, I'm like, it's not just HTTP traffic. You got to see what it's actually doing and then correspond the traffic patterns to what's hitting your GPU and then match that up to what's hitting your CPU. So by that time, I'm totally down a rabbit hole. I said, I still ain't got darn homework done. I said, this weekend I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna stay what Frank said, use Olama, got the model, but then again, I went down a rabbit hole. Now that I got the third GPU inside mine, so now I have 24, 4, 8, 12. What I have what? What's oh no, 4. I have 24 times 3 gigabytes worth of GPU memory. Not shared out on the motherboard. Each one of my GPUs has 24 gigabytes on it. So now it's amazingly fast. So I turned off the shared memory. So I said, don't share memory from the motherboard. Use the only GPU memory. I think I did, but I'm not sure the GPUs will allow that. I think they need a fallback. They will not let you just say that, but you can prioritize before it goes to your system memory or your board memory. So I went in because I got tired of trying to battle this thing to say don't use the memory on the motherboard. I said only use the memory on the motherboard if you use more than 24, I think 22. So if at any time any single GPU is using actually more than 22 gigabytes, then use the shared memory. That seemed to work, so I didn't want to fight it anymore. Like I can't figure out how to zero.
You know, you got to keep a diary of what I asked you to do and everything you've done just to do this simple little task at the end. You know, it's amazing.
Well, I'm done. Go ahead. What have you been doing, man?
Did some GitHub Copilot training and picked up actually some security training and some security consulting around agent security stuff. So that's pretty good. But I'm here in Florida, so I sent you pictures of me golfing.
I saw you golfing.
Yeah,
I saw you taking a mulligan.
The retirees all beat me, so it was pretty embarrassing. But hey, got out there, had fun. That's the important.
The weather had to be awesome, right?
Yep. Sure beats the DC area walking around on 5 inches of ice. You know, so I'll take it.
I'm here in Atlanta right now. For those who are new to the show, Frank's in Virginia or DC, and I'm in Atlanta, north of Atlanta. It's literally 74 degrees outside. You know, like we have threats of thunderstorms today. Go figure. I will get you the homework. So you did some training, AI training, Copilot. So I guess it's AI in development, right? And some security consulting. What else you get done?
That's it, because I'm just hanging out in Florida, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, so to our listeners, Rod is out and about, gallivanting all over the world and not here. He'll be back whenever he's finished doing his conferencing and some time off, well deserved. Shout out to you, Rod. He'll be back. I don't know if he'll be back for the next show. We have a returning guest on the next show. I'm going to redeem myself because I'm going to get him to do my homework. He's coming on to talk about a project he worked on. It's actually pretty impressive. I won't drop his name yet. You'll see it when the invite goes out. We schedule it out. Oh yeah, one thing I got to get at. Rod generally does all the production. I created the scheduling, but I think I create the schedule was publicly posted on our Substack. Pretty sure it is. So we have a guest for March 5th, and we also have a guest for March 19th. The March 19th guest is going to be a surprise coming on, and then we'll get back to it. Our Women in Cyber Month is still on. It's going to be a little bit thin this year because I'm actually going to be in Redmond, and Microsoft puts on their own Women in Cyber. So I think Rod and I are going to try to just grab some of the participants that are there off the floor and do the show there and bring them over to talk. If we see any of the previous guests that have been on our Women in Cyber Month for the past or the previous 2 years, we'll get them on. Big shout out to Maria Thompson, Vasu, Ruti, and all the others that come on the show. If we see them up there, we'll see if we can get them to come on, just say a couple of words about Women in Cyber Month, and particularly how AI is affecting their approach to cybersecurity from a demographic that's hugely underrepresented in the cybersecurity arena, which is women, right? How does this throw a wrench in it, or has this made women get into cyber better because you can take an AI approach and that may be a differentiator against your competitors for a job, because it's so new. It doesn't take. That's not true. You have an opportunity to stand out more because now the skills beyond cybersecurity are super relevant, right? I have talked more about.
I got to tell you, I really think there's going to be an age thing coming up more than anything else. Because like I said, you know, when I type into whatever model I'm using and I ask it a question, I put in one sentence. I mean, my kid, when he uses models, he's typing an entire paragraph. He already thinks in a way that is much more descriptive to get the results from the model than the way that I do. So I really think when you take a look at the generation now that's in school and the way that they utilize the products versus us, you know, that's going to be the challenge right there.
It's good you said that. Someone sent me something today and I did not share it. I'll get it in the show notes. Let me write it down. Shout out to Rick Colts. He said that he found a paper that reusing the same prompt after the results come back from the model, just put it back in the same. A lot of these models will continue to improve off the same prompt. So I'm going to put Rick Colts here and I'll put it in the show notes.
I mean, a lot of the app developers I talk to, they're like, hey, once I set up everything code wise, I just spend the rest of my time doing prompt evaluation and changing prompts to system prompts to make the system actually work. That's where they spend all their time. And I have to say that the younger generation is already into knowing how to do that versus you and I.
The people that experience, right? We won't say older, we will say experience or incumbent. I will give myself a little bit of credit. I very rarely write 1 or 2 line prompts. Most of my prompts are 3 line, and I've gotten really good at it by setting a persona. And I don't like saying prompts anymore. I submit the narrative of what I am trying to get. And so mine's are pretty robust. And then I cheat a little bit. I'll write the prompt. And then since I'm consuming 5 different models, I pay for Grok, I pay for Perplexity, which is a conglomerate of all the ones on the backside. I pay for Gemini, I pay for Claude, I pay for Copilot, and I pay for ChatGPT, aka OpenAI. I've taken those prompts and I'll put it in one, and then I'll look at the resulting, output from the prompt. I'll take that same prompt and throw it into another model next to it in the same tab and say, improve this prompt. And then when you say improve it, that in itself is so subjective. Then I go improve this prompt so that I can achieve the same results with 50% of the input. If you started playing with it, you'll see it become more concise. And the idea wasn't narrative, novel. The idea came from trying to improve the way that these models were writing KQL query. Because when you're writing a very ambiguous request to write a KQL query, you often get worse KQL queries out of it. Now that's not a problem because there are several MVPs and people that are writing these MCP servers that are doing KQL searches from multiple sources and testing it in the background and putting it out before you get it. So when I'm typing prompts, I think I've gotten pretty good at it. I always set the narrative. I don't say, tell me this about this product. I said it, and then I do things like consider these particular URLs or this person or these things as part of your decision making. I'm liking it, man.
So for me, if I'm doing dev, then I know that I'm in that frame of mind that I have to do that. But if I'm just using the product, whatever product, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, then I'm terrible. But if I'm doing it in my professional role, then I'm much better about more descriptive prompt.
It is absolutely. That's a good point. It's the mind I'm in, and these models will shape the way you interact with them. I change my persona. When I'm working in Claude, I'm always seem to be working when I'm trying to do something with code. Claude in itself It is really good. Grok is when I want someone to. Grok will come back and say, "Are you sure?" It even said, "Is this a good use of your time?" Right? Because I was telling it to help me do that homework. Like, is this a good use of your time? Frank's instruction wasn't that hard. Go do this, 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 this. It's a smart ass. It really is. I'm like, but I told it, talk to me as though you are my peer and we work together for so and so. But before I did it, I say, give me a complete dossier of public records and public information about Edward Walton. And they say, oh, he's a co-creator of the podcast. He does this. He works with this. But he gave me all that. So I said, now acting persona, someone has known Edward for 15 plus years. They worked in these places with him. It is amazing that now it gives itself a skill to say, oh, yeah, back in the day, you and I were network techs. We were network architects. I remember when you went to try it out for your CCIE. I remember when it started talking that way. And then it started bringing up stuff I had forgotten where I had worked before in the past. It's like, I didn't know that. I forgot I worked there.
They keep thinking that I'm like this professor in Germany or something like that. So it's pretty funny,
right?
For correcting it.
So before we get too far along down the line, it's supposed to be a short show. We're almost half into it. You had a topic that you wanted to talk about today that came out of the tech community posting. I'll go ahead and throw it in the chitty chat. So
I'll let you.
Hold on, let me get rid of it. Comment. And then I'm gonna put it in the chitty chat here. Give me a second here. Let's do this there. So you wanted to talk about give me a second here. Microsoft Sentinel. I'm just trying to get the actual link to work here before I share my screen.
I don't know if they changed this. It's just the way that I read it before.
So give me a second. I don't know why it's making me log into the Microsoft Community Hub. Give me a second here.
I think they actually might have changed the title.
Change the title? What do you mean?
From what they had before, because I was worried about the way that they listed it before. It was very weird.
Well, I'll share my screen. So what you were talking about that was written by a previous guest on the show early in the show. He is he's an architect at Microsoft. His name is Matthew Lowe. He's part of Customer Experience CXE, and he wrote an article on the Microsoft Tech Community Security blog, and the title of it is Data Lake Tier Ingestion for Microsoft Defender Advanced Hunting Tables is now generally available. And this is February 10th. And the tagline is, today we're excited to announce the general availability of Data Lake Tier Ingestion for Microsoft XDR Advanced Hunting Tables into Microsoft Sentinel Data Lake. Now, for those who are not familiar with why that is a thing, the thing is because when the data lake was first announced, one of the biggest shortcomings was that you couldn't ingest XDR data directly into the data lake. You ingested it into the primary log analytics workspace. And in that workspace,
so if you scroll down, so one of the things I wanted to go over today was, how does the Defender data get here? So if you scroll down in here, the wording that I thought that was kind of strange, it's right there below the with this release, users can now ingest advanced hunting data from Defender for Endpoint, whatever, directly into Sentinel Data Lake without requiring ingestion into the Microsoft Sentinel Analytics tier. So, yeah, I still think this is a little bit different than what I read, but that's fine. When I first read it, I was under the assumption like they're bypassing the Defender for Endpoint workspace and going to the data lake. I was very confused by it, like what they had put out. And of course, I read things in 3 seconds. So, what they're saying here is so before this was available, your data would come into the Defender workspace. And if you had the connector in place, it would also be ingested into um, Sentinel analytics tier, right?
Yes.
And then after the retention period, it would then move over to the data lake side if you had a data lake setup. What they're saying now is that you can set it up so you've got your 30 days with inside Defender for Endpoint or the Defender workspace, and after those 30 days, it will skip the analytics tier, and you can make it go directly to um, the lake side, the over to the data lake, so you're not paying for the that duplicate ingestion situation. Is that correct?
Yes. So let me back up a little bit. So without going too far off topic, XDR data, let's not talk about the data lake just yet. Let's just talk about XDR data as you turn the data.
Use one of the tables right there where they're talking about the supported tables. Let's say the device process events table. Tell me how the data goes through.
Okay. So when you are ingesting the data from these advanced tables, they would go into Sentinel by via of the data connector into the log analytics workspace.
Right.
Of note, you can only stream XDR data to one workspace, even though the Defender portal is multi-workspace aware.
Right.
A pat on the back to myself. Last year, myself and a CSA found a highly undocumented requirement around owning the workspace and how the data was ingested. It was done by virtue of a customer inadvertently adding another workspace for Defender for Cloud and clicking on, do you want to unify your Sentinel and XDR experience? And then it made him choose a workspace. And when he chose the workspace, it automatically grabbed it as primary. And then it started forwarding the XDR data from the old workspace into the new workspace. But he was not the SOC guy. He was just a Defender for Cloud guy. So the SOC people noticed 2 days later, where's the XDR data? And then they realized it wasn't streaming into it anymore, but we could not find where it was going. Now, when they opened it up, the Defender portal, they didn't see the workspace. Why? They didn't see the workspace because you have to be owner of the subscription to the workspace to see it in the permissions. Now, all of this has been documented and all this. Now, the next iteration was your XDR tables could be mirrored. So they would still go into the log analytics workspace, but you could mirror the data over there. It was just mirrored. You couldn't do anything with it. It was there to see.
Mirrored over where?
Into the data lake.
Okay.
Couldn't do anything with it. All right. So if this wasn't a copy of it, it's mirror, and that's playing with words here, right? What does mirror mean? Does it mean the data exists in both places? No, it was sort of like a pointer to say that this was in the data lake for retention, but not for anything else. It wasn't really malleable. You couldn't do anything.
But you could do the restore jobs or whatever that
you could do that. Now, as I understand it, with this announcement that occurred about a week ago, a little bit more, is you can bypass having to ingest these tables into the log analytics workspace and have them go from source directly into the data lake. Now, I haven't played with this just yet, but my lab is finally redone, my personal lab, and I can do this now. My question is, and maybe it's actually in the documentation, I don't think you need a DCR. I think you just need to highlight the tables as you have your data lake vision.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a link.
Oh, here it is right here. Enable it, configuration tables. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
So go to the link I sent you. This actually breaks it out. I think it gives you a better understanding. Put it in the chat.
You put it in chat?
Yep.
Mm,
Private chat.
Private chat. Let me just look at the private chat. Give me a second here. I'll grab it. I'll copy it. I'll go here.
So I was just concerned about the way that things were worded before, the way that I read it. It's probably worded just fine. Just the way that I read it was that it was actually skipping over things. So go directly to the link where I'm at. That's going to be confusing. So go
Well, I
down to
did.
the red one.
I put the link in and it took me here.
No, it's going to take you somewhere else. Takes you down a little bit. Keep
I'll
going
grab
down.
the link again. Hold on. I'll grab it.
Oh, you want to prove me wrong now?
No. There you go. I just pasted it and I hit go.
Oh, you see, that's where I want you to be. See?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this table does a very good explanation of what's going on here. So basically, you get your 30 days free, and then you went to the 90 days, then you went to the data lake based upon the retention. So I believe that the next table gets you a little bit more details. If you want to read that out to people, I can.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the analytic tier retention, you get 30 days default, total retention, 30 days, no additional cost, analytic tier cost, NA, data lake cost.
Right, because that's in the Defender workspace right there. The first row is the Defender workspace.
Yes. And then 90 days, no additional cost for total retention. Analytic cost is, it's going to be a cost.
You're paying for the ingestion of the Defender data into the analytics tier.
Yeah. Analytics tier storage costs, no additional cost, 90 days included free. That's that 90 days that you get across the log analytics default. And then data lake, no additional cost, total retention matches the analytics tier. So you're going to get 90 days in a data lake, just like you would get in analytics. And so if you go 90 days in the analytic tier, and then you double up the 90 days for retention to 180, you're basically saying, cost applies for the delta, and the delta is 90 days. So you're going to cost apply when you put in the LAW, what that cost is per gigabyte. Your mileage may vary. If you put it in the analytics storage cost, 90 days included free, no additional cost. But if you have 180 days retention, you pay the delta, which is 90 days worth of retention. It's really N plus 90 minus whatever, right? To be able to get it. So if your default in the analytics tier, not default, if your settings in analytics tier says, I want 180 days. So in Sentinel, with the way we are with the data lake, when someone says the analytics tier, that is synonymous with hot. That is your hot data, right? You can do all the bells and whistles against it. Query, beat it, morph it, adjust it, whatever. That's your hot data. And if your total retention is 1 year, right? 365 days, you get a cost for the analytics tier ingestion, right? That's just gigabytes. Whether it's 0 days or 180 days, you have to pay for the ingestion. But when you talk about retention, a cost in the data tier now says you get 90 days. So now in the analytics tier, aka hot, you pay for 90 days of retention. Now, in the data lake cost, your cost apply for 185 days of additional retention, right? So now you're looking at 365 minus 90, something like that. Yep, 365 minus 180 days. So I was close. And that's what you pay for. So you're really just paying for the delta anytime you are past your 90. And then if your hot space, your hot retention, if your hot analytics space, analytics tier, you move that default to 90 that says, hey, 90 days come free, but because of the way we do advanced hunting, threading, whatever we do in our security operations, we need 180 days worth of hot. So now the delta to just the analytics tier for retention is 90 days, and then the data tier is at 365 minus the 90 days that was yours by default, right? And so last thing.
But the bottom line is that you can go into you're going to get your 30 days within inside the Defender workspace. Then if you set things properly, it's just going to go to the data lake tier, but it will not be in the analytics tier. So if you have an analytics rule that accesses those tables, what will happen? Will it not see those first 30 days?
No. It
Because
won't.
right now, when you set it up, your analytics rule with inside Sentinel, by default, right now, will see the first 30 days of the because it's only working with the analytics tier data. But if you go XDR direct to data lake, that means it never hits the log analytics side, which means your analytic rules will never see that data.
So
Correct?
yes. So what happens is if you're moving the XDR data against it, but as I understand it, and no, we can go look this up. I apologize to my listeners for not knowing this. I do believe. No, here we go right here. So query capabilities. So you can query fully against it, full query capabilities against the analytics tier, and full queries capabilities against the data lake, including unions and joins. Run
Right. Well,
scheduled.
that's the difference between the analytics tier and the data lake tier. What I'm saying is that because you're actually sending your Defender data directly to the data lake tier,
You can't.
that
You can't. You see right here? Your answer is no. Limitations on some features include analytic rules, hunting queries, and parsers. That because it doesn't sit.
no. I'm not talking about the difference in doing querying in analytics versus data lake tier. What I'm saying is that if you go direct from your process events table to your data lake tier, and you bypass the analytics tier, any analytics rule that you have, okay,
They
because
won't.
normally analytic rules are going to be more focused on time sensitive data, it's not going to see that anymore because
Yeah, it won't
because
fire.
the analytics rule will not act does not look at the Defender workspace data. It looks at what it has within inside the analytics tier. So if you're like, hey, I'm saving money by going with Defender XDR directly to the data lake tier, then you might be breaking some coverage with inside your analytic rules with inside Sentinel because the data will not be there.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. If you bypass the analytic rules, if you bypass the analytics tier in the primary log analytics workspace, your analytics that you set up in Sentinel will not fire on that because you don't give them anything to.
While they're firing, they just won't see any data there for the first
the
30 days.
Because they're scheduled analytic rules, right? So right. What you'd have to do is start writing some schedule KQL or.
Oh, you're going to use the custom rules within inside the Defender portal, which will see the data at that point in time, which is different than the analytic rules of Sentinel. So it comes down to the fact if you're trying to correlate data within inside the first 30 days in the analytics tier, you will not be able to correlate the data that you have from the connectors that you have data coming into Sentinel and your Defender data.
But what we need to go back is set a little bit of base knowledge to our listeners, even our seasoned individuals. A lot of people assume that if you don't turn on Sentinel, you can't get XDR telemetry inside the Defender portal. That is not true. You will get alerts and incidents generated if you don't turn on Sentinel because there is some default stuff in the background that's looking at your data.
Well, you're getting the Defender alerts that are going on. Alerts. Defender, the stuff that Defender's generating.
Yeah, you're getting the capability to alert based on that product's capabilities. Defender for Cloud, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Identity, Defender for MDE.
It's like Sentinel didn't exist at that point.
Like it didn't exist. So Sentinel is the enrichment of the Defender alerts by taking in logs from the sources or raw logs, like the tables in MDE being a great example. And so when you get that, if you look inside the Defender and you look at the detection source, you can sit here and say that it was detected by MDE, then it may say Sentinel rule, or it could just say MDO.
Right, but the big thing here is that people have to realize that if they have analytic rules that are dependent upon the Defender tables, not the custom tables, the custom data collection.
Yeah.
If they're bypassing this, then they might be breaking their analytic rules.
So this goes right here. This is exactly, you and I talked about this for the last 7-8 minutes, but a one line that we pull down. when you change the tables tier from analytics to data lake, all real-time analytics and honey queries stop working. You would think they would make that bolder. Why is that not bold on this, right? At the very top, what happens when you modify the table settings? So we're reading this from the actual Microsoft Learn that says when you modify the table, I'll read it, you can switch a tables tier and retention settings at any time. When you change the tables tier from analytics to data lake, all real-time analytics and hunting queries will stop working. So if you're in Sentinel and you go in and you create those hunting queries and you took the templates you created, or you went into the content hub, you download a solution, you enable all these analytics to come with that particular solution, and you move that data so it doesn't go through a place where the analytic rules can inspect it, the analytic tier and the LAW, you don't, what Frank said, the rules will keep running. You'll come back with no hits because there's nothing to hit on. Yep. So, and here's
so it's just something that I think that was thrown out there. It needed some. I read it wrong to begin with, where it was like going to completely bypass the Defender portal, which is not the case. I'm like, I was scared at first, but it's a thing that people need to take into consideration, and how it might impact their analytic rules that they have out there in making that decision. I won't go into the custom data collection in Defender for Endpoint and how that impacts, what impacts that might have in what you're doing. But well, I mean, you should consider that if you have the new custom data collection capability inside Defender for Endpoint. That's only going to the log analytics side with inside Sentinel. And once again, you're going to have a problem correlating data. So by saving yourself this money by cutting out this analytics tier for your Defender data, you might really be impacting how you can correlate data from these other data sources in the future.
And highly not recommended. I have a couple of use cases, but I can't sort of say them. It may inadvertently exclude. It may inadvertently sort of disclose who or what industry is actually doing it. I've seen it. I've seen someone, probably early adopter, had to go do
Hey, listen, you know what? If they're actually using Sysmon and having the Windows event collector data connector from Sentinel pulling in the data that way, and they don't want to confuse things, then that's fine. Hey, I'm using my Sysmon events, and I don't want to be confused by the Defender, device process events table. I don't really need it, but I'll need it later on if I really care about it in the lake tier. Then that's fine. I mean, but people that are currently, they just have to understand the impact of the data not being there in the analytics tier right away, and might break their correlation. But if they're not using it because they're using events from Sysmon, a different
I'm trying to get a fresh perspective on why I would bypass in the XDR data not the XDR data. Yeah, the XDR data tables directly in the Sentinel. So let's take out.
If you don't have any analytic rules against it, then why are you bringing it in there?
Well, that's the chicken before the horse thing, because when you download a lot of these, you know what? I think you asked a question that you didn't ask. Someone hit me up with this about 3 weeks ago, a customer, and they brought back something that I thought was a limitation in Sentinel since day one, but it actually isn't. And now I see when you deploy a solution from the content hub, let's say it's the XDR solution, and it creates the workbooks, analytic rules, all of that. What is done is created analytic rules as templates in your Sentinel instance, but they are not automatically enabled. You have to go through that. And so you can't mass enable analytic rules. You have to create a PowerShell script that goes in and mass enable the rules based on, I can do it by Content Hub now. I can do it by solution. I can do it by vendor. I have that. I took that PowerShell script. I forget what MVP wrote it. And then I modified it. Claude did, and did a very good job at it. And they gave me 5 scenarios on how to go in and mass enable the analytic rules. I can do it by solution. I can do it by name. There are certain parameters, right? Once you know what APIs to call, it was easy. But now it makes sense that I don't think they did it on purpose. That the reason that you didn't mass enable those rules, I always said that be careful what you ask for, because if you mass enable the rules, you could inadvertently overwhelm your SOC with false positives. They are noisy. But now the auto tuning stuff that got debuted about 2 weeks ago auto tunes a lot of stuff. But I'm not sure it auto tunes alerts from Sentinel analytics. It auto tunes the Defender native alerts that are coming in. So we still haven't solved the problem. But you cannot, from the GUI in Sentinel, you cannot, from the GUI in the Defender portal, if you're in there, or if you're in Sentinel directly, you cannot mass enable analytic rules. You have to do it through a PowerShell script or JSON. You know, you PowerShell is easier, right? Go that route. So
create an agent to put in there to do it. Okay, that's what you got to do.
Yes. So I wrote a logic app because I got tired of going in and trying to see if there was an update and automatically check, and if there was an update to an analytic rule, it just did it for me.
So you can wrap that logic app with an MCP server, so then you can distribute that for everybody to use.
I'm not a sharer. I'm the only child that's sharing in there. I'm not doing it. You're right though, but the agent aspect, that's a good idea. You could. We're all about the SOC analyst, but who maintains the SOC? We're so conditioned that the SOC analyst's main job is just to look at alerts, hunt for the bad guys, look at stuff. But somebody's got to maintain and feed it, right?
So that was we got a big debate about that, about the roles. You know, is that the AZ 500 person? Is that the SC 200 person? Who is that? And I really think I really think it's the detection engineers person, you know, that's involved with hunting and everything else that should actually be creating those rules. So I'm hoping that in the future that Microsoft comes out with a detection engineering certification, but that's very heavy, you know, more knowledge about the attacks than it is about the tool, in my opinion. But hopefully the detection engineer role will, you know, will surface at some point in time and focus into that area.
Well, the detection engineer is someone who's going to have an MSSP mindset, because right. The MSSP is having to update one to many for their customers, right? If they have any type of DevOps chops about them, so that when they find a viable detection, they do some type of, you know, reconnaissance against their client base, because if one of your customers not using Cisco Firepower, you don't push that detection down across everybody. So, but if all your customers are using majority, you know, almost all the Microsoft ones, you want to push down. But for instance, there are some detections out there for people who are running an Exchange server on premise. You don't want that pushed out into your environment, you know. So, companies that do this detection engineer or this cyber detection architect, CDA.
Well, I mean, just think of that. So there's a role of detection engineering or the threat hunters and all that, or the past, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that will be something, because somebody has to feed the thing, and it's Sentinel is not that demanding. It's hunting query creation that's viable and useful. IOCs are, you can write your own, but a lot of them are, you know, if it's a very relevant IOC, the Microsoft backend people put it in. You just have to go put it in. If you're writing custom detections, that too. I never really thought about it until you said it now, that you assume that the SOC analyst is the person that carry and feeds the monster, but that detection person, and that's a team though, especially if you're at a company like, right, or anybody, that's your job to be able to go do it. And most of those companies that do that, their Azure DevOps CI/CD skills are pretty good, or I've actually seen a couple of MSSPs.
Well, they had the whole repository thing with inside, you know, the Sentinel side for doing deployment. I don't actually know where that's at because it was limited to.
It's in the you go to the blade, you go down.
No, I mean, I know where it's at. I'm just saying functionally where it's at, because a lot of things that I wanted to have it do, you could not export through the UI anyways. So, but that was, you know, 50 years ago. So like I said, I actually don't know where that's at. So that's something I should go back and do homework on.
I don't know if it defaults to Azure DevOps or does it default to GitHub Enterprise. That is probably the third least thing I use behind notebooks and watch lists.
There you go.
Watch lists,
Well,
right?
notebooks, I think, is going to be a changing environment now since you have the data lake, where the notebook
yeah.
was limited before. Now this expands the capabilities for them to start looking for anomalies on their own. So
I
that's
thought
going to be good.
I thought notebooks were going to be phased out of Sentinel. I think that was a serious conversation. Like, it wasn't needed. It was.
Well, yeah. Once again, when we looked at that from a roles statement, we're like, all right, the SC200 people are probably not doing that, but most likely there's some sort of person that's doing that sort of data science sort of work to look for anomalies. So let's just tell them about it and let the internal people deal with it. Maybe the detection engineers will be using it from there. But now, I mean, it was so limited before because of the way that you had to do things. Now you've got an open book to and how you want to work with the data. So let's see where the customers take it.
And finding people that were like I mean, true hunters, responders, finding people who had viable and certifiable Juniper notebook skills was hard, right? Now that's sort of that skill. If you're a security person, you are absorbing some form of DevOps and development skills by virtue of you doing your job, right? You're living in VS Code, you're living in Git.
I got to tell you, most of the time now in the training that I'm doing, dealing with anything that comes down to Python, just not even data, whatever. Everything is being done in Jupyter notebooks. Go from teach them one cell at a time what's going on, and it breaks it down really well. So, I mean, I think that a lot of developers, a lot of people are getting access to that sort of thinking, but not using it for the data analysis yet.
And if any of our listeners want to, I find it so hard to just read normally now that I like the summarization that most of these AI models will give you. If you want an easy way to understand it and reverse learn, go look at a finished product and then work your way back to how you got to it. Example, go into Sentinel, go into the notebooks, copy one of the templates and put it in your model of choice and say, explain this to me.
You know what's funny is that you're giving advice to people how to learn when your title says Edward the bad student.
Well, I'm a bad student. I'm telling you how not to be a bad student. So no, I don't want to overachieve. The expectation now you'll give me more homework. If I keep not doing it, eventually, I'm a kid.
You don't even know what I have lined up for you. Since you have that hardware now, you're going to be developing your own LLMs.
So let me give you something else. So you said I offered you the access to the machine so you could just play around with it, and I put a hard drive for you in it. I'll create the volume. I ran out of NVM space because I got 4 NVMs in it. Each one of them are 4 terabytes. So I took 2 of them and I mirrored the OS. I put one of them for applications only, LF Studio, or leave it, whatever I may put. And then I put one for downloaded modules. I did have 2 open bays for SSDs. I happen to have some fairly large SSDs I wasn't using. And I had the power cables and literally that power supply in my machines got to be 12 to 600 watts. 600 is probably, I know it's 12, but it's so quiet. So I said, you know what? Let me throw these drives in here. So if Frank wants to do something, I don't want him writing and dirtying up my C drive. He can just put the models on one and then do it here. But what I also did, you gave me some more homework, and this is your fault. You said, Edward, go deploy global secure access in your environment, and you sent me the how-to. I copied the how-to, went downstairs into my data center, and I was going to do it. And I got plenty of, I still got some machines left. I said, when they fail, I throw them away. I'm not going to buy another piece of hardware down in my data center, right? So I go down there, and a lot of them don't qualify to upgrade to Windows 11. So now I'm down there going to a rabbit hole of trying to find a backwards way because the machine hardware is good. I'm like,
so you can't because what are you running on that on your LLM training
Windows
machine?
11 Enterprise.
Okay.
You have to have Windows 11 Pro Enterprise.
Oh, you can just set up global secure access right there for me. So
I'm not putting that connection software on that machine. No, I'm gonna put it downstairs with it closest to the router. So when you VPN in, you hit that dedicated machine, and you'll be on the subnet where this machine is. I'll give it an IP address.
These last 5 minutes has all been about how you don't trust me. What's the deal, huh?
Dude, I
I don't want Frank to dirty up the drive. He's going to be running OpenClaw. He's going to be doing all this fun stuff.
Yes, I will come up there and just all of a sudden the mouse is moving on my machine. I'm like, what? I've let you in my lab before. I had to blast my Sentinel environment to dust. It's gone. It took me 2 days to build it all back up. I'm gonna keep it clean. Because he used to say, hey, Ed, I'm doing some work inside the lab. If you see these alerts, it's me. I look in there, man, it's all type of stuff.
If I wanted to hack you, I would just drop in your driveway a USB that says payroll. I mean, I know you'd walk in and plug it in. So
I give it to my wife and say, hey, when you go to work, plug this in and tell me what's on it. Tell me what's on it. I have a sandbox machine. I've done that before. I found some USBs out before, but I have a machine that's totally not connected to anything. I plugged it in.
And, I can tell you at RSA 1 year, a security company actually dropped out a whole bunch of
so
to see how many people actually, and they were getting connections. So it was kind of funny.
And this one, I did it a few times when you had me studying for the FOR 508, the SANS. So I had a machine, and it was sandbox with internet connection though. So it was a machine, and then I had like a hotspot or something, and I plug it in and look through it, and then I know it wasn't anywhere on my home network. It was just a pure hotspot, not used for anything else, to see if it was trying to talk traffic. And once again, I would put glass wire on it, and I don't even know what that machine is. I think that thing croaked or something. It was old.
Why are you so worried about me being on your network at your house? I mean, come on,
man. The FBI may be looking for you.
What could I do? I
don't want to be a conspiracy man. They be like, Frank Grimberg? I do not know him. Never met him in my life. You've known him for 5 years. You got a podcast for 5 years. I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know who he is. He shows up and he's in my network.
I got to tell you, it'd be much better just to do global secure access to segmented the LLM machine there than what you're thinking about doing. But that's fine. Just let you know.
Well, it would have been easier in my old house because I had 2 circuits. Over here, I can't get Xfinity. So I got fiber from Bell South, man, in my old AT&T. So I hit them up and I almost had them. I said, will you pull me another line to my house? And the guy came out. He was about to do it. He missed the appointment. And then he backchecked. He said, hey, I can't do this. This is a residential. And he was my neighbor who moved into the subdivision at the very beginning has 2 fiber terminated into his house, 2 separate IP addresses from the pop out at the street. They won't do it for me. And so what I'm thinking about, and Comcast won't come over here, Xfinity, I got a great package at Verizon. Verizon said, hey, we'll give you business 5G for residential because I've been with them so long, do it this way. So I used to be a huge networking guy. So I was going to merge the bandwidth using F5 LTM, right? But it's diminishing returns now. So I think I may get the 5G and segment the house of my wife and her office are on their own. I could VLAN the stuff too, because I got all Cisco equipment. I could just VLAN put it on, but
all right. Well, we don't have to keep these people.
Yeah, we got to keep
these people up with this. And
so let me give some announcements here. So we're going to throw in the show notes that there are a bunch of learning links I'm going to put in there. They're around Entra ID agents for IT pros. These are learning creation channels for Entra agents, Entra ID platform for developers. Key concepts of Entra Agent ID developers, Microsoft Graph API for Entra ID. See a theme here. Agent identity integration with Foundry. Then you can read that. Agent identity integration with Copilot Studio. Agent identification for conditional access optimization agent. Actually, that's pretty cool. I got to showcase it and demo it this week to a customer. Absolutely loved it. Agent ID integration with Access Review Agent. I didn't play with that one. Copilot Studio agents, old Agent ID SPs, dynamic 365 agents, and then 2 of the Ignite readouts from it.
Basically, everything to do with Agent ID with Entra.
Yeah.
But have you noticed now? I mean, we were talking about this how long ago, and now that's the big thing out there is identity for agents. That's huge out there.
This show talked about this a year and a half, if not 2 years ago. At the very onset of Security Copilot, we said this is where it's going to go. It's going to get away from this. We need to get Alistar back on here because now I'm getting pulled in Agent 365, Agent ID, Work IQ, Fabric IQ, and Alistar. Hello, Alistar, if you're listening. We need to get him back on because this conversation is coming more and more. And now people want, especially at the Microsoft Connect that we had internally, this whole thing about securing the Microsoft AI ecosystem is the thing. And now the tools, Purview, MDE, MDO, MDI, MDCA, and the other tools are securing Defender for AI and a few other tools that I've forgotten about. Agent 365, I think I said that. And another one, the integration that I was going to show on the show because I thought I was real slick. I had something cool. The integration with agents and Power Platform is amazing. So the next time we do a Only Us, that piece of my lab is done. I want people to see it. I did not realize Power Platform was so integrated into the way agents operate and the security makeup of it because you can get access to it through Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, aka MCAS, and you can see it from inside Agent 365. The other thing that I'm seeing that I think is going to be careful what you ask for, people, the AI dashboard for executives or security leaders. It is AI.security.microsoft.com. You want your CISO and your director to manage you now. Why are these risks here? Why are these role agents here? You're asking for it, right? I showed it off, and I looked at all the managers in that room when I was presenting to leadership at the company, and you could see the wheels turning, right? Oh, I need this in Power DI. And then
when are they going to announce Build? I'm very interested in what they have to say at Build. So that would be.
I don't know. I know the next thing that's coming up when you're ready to close the show for everybody. The next thing that should be coming up is Microsoft Secure, right? March. I don't know. Ask Rod. He's in charge of all that. I don't know. I just work here. So everyone, I hope you've enjoyed the show. For those who didn't listen to it live, Frank brought in great conversation about the data lake tier now being accessible directly to XDR logs, bypassing the primary log analytics space and AKA the analytic tier. Be careful what you ask for. I didn't even go into some of the other nuances if you turn on multi-workspace. With that being said, you'll see that the drop dead date of Sentinel coming out of Azure and being solely into the Defender portal has been pushed back to next year. I can neither confirm or deny this because of my research. And we'll leave it at that, right? Because I am famous. So everyone, thanks for the show. Rod will be back in a week or so. We'll have a guest next week. I'll give a hint. We're going to continue the Sentinel conversation, but we're going to pull in AI around it, MCP server around it, a whole bunch of stuff. Don't miss next week's show. This person's been on the show before.
2 weeks from now. 2 weeks. 2
weeks from now. He's really good. And then 4 weeks from now, a surprise guest. We're going to stay on the AI piece of it, but we're going to take an interesting swing. It's going to be a surprise guest on the show. And then Rod should be back by then. Thanks for everybody for listening. You have any questions, hit us up on Substack, hit us up on the website, and we'll get back to you. Thanks to everybody for listening. Everybody have a good one.